We have section B, and this is where we need to get a lot of marks. We should not misuse any chance here. We are supposed to choose two questions from alternatives. And for this time, I know you have to read through all the questions before you make your choice. You have alternatives here. Yes, choices must be made, and you always choose the most easiest question for yourself. Look at question 2.1, that part, which says, name any two examples of taxes on products. Examples of taxes on product. One, the first one is value added tax, which is VAT, and the second one is the excise duty. Excise duty. Excise duty, which is charged on goods and services which are produced. Okay. Why do national accounts convert nominal GDP? Why do they convert nominal GDP to GDP at a constant price? Remember, nominal GDP is having issues of prices are not adjusted clear. They are just prices of current. These are current prices. Good GDP at current prices is affected by inflation. So we need to convert them to a constant price so that we determine the real GDP. We give the most appropriate or accurate, most appropriate figures of GDP, and this is therefore to determine the real GDP. Real GDP, which is from inflation. Okay, let's go to the next question here. We are provided with a table. We are provided with a table here. Below, we are supposed to use it to answer questions that follow. So we are provided with a final consumption, the final consumption expenditure by households. They are here. So we are given A, the values at 2014 is here. The value of 2015 is given here. Gross capital formation is here. That is expenditure made by firms when they are doing investment. It is here, sorry. And so 2015 is even here. So residual items are given here. In order to avoid the errors and omissions, we always add residual items when we are calculating national income. We always add residual items to avoid, specifically to avoid errors and omitted that could have been made when we are correcting data regarding expenditure. So a gross domestic expenditure, therefore, is here. Gross domestic expenditure is done by households. It's done by households, by the government. Actually, this one should be final expenditure by the government. That is the final consumption expenditure. It should be final consumption by who? By the government. By the government. See this? Residual items. They are given here. So that gives us what we call gross domestic expenditure. That will give us this. If you add this, look at this. This is 7, 15. 15 plus, look at 6 plus 1. This is 7 plus 8. That is 15 plus 4. That is 19. We write 1. We take 1. So that this is 1 plus 2. That is 3 plus 4. That is 7 plus 0. 7 plus 4. 7 plus 4. It gives us 11. We write 1. We take 1. We carry 1. And then we go here. This is 4 plus 1. That is a 5. 5 plus 6. That gives us 11. 11 plus 8. That's 19. 19 plus 8. That gives us 27. We write 7. We take 2 here. We are taking 2 here. And 2 plus 9, that is 11. Plus 1, that is 4. Plus 4. Meaning that is, we took 2 here. 11 plus 1, that is 12. 12 plus 2, that's 14. 14 plus 3, that is 17. So we write 7 here. We go with 1 here. And see here. We go with 1 plus 9. That's 10 plus 7. That's 17 plus 7. That's 24. 24 plus 2, that is 26. We write 6 here. This is how we got gross domestic product. It's 26. We carry 2 here. 2 plus 2, that is 4, plus 7, that is 4 plus 7, that is 11, that is 18. 18, we write 8 here, and then we take 1 to this 1, and 18, 1 plus 2 gives us 3. This is how we got this. This gross domestic expenditure 2024 is right here. You can see this. It's okay. So this is gross domestic expenditure here, but that is in a closed what economy here. But we need to introduce what about expenditure we got after getting money from export and so on. So that was spent on imports. We shall add incomes we got from our exports, and then we shall subtract the expenditure we made on imports. You can see this. That is X. This is X minus M. But we're getting all this. So we shall get this plus this minus this. Look at this. So we are adding these two, which is, or this is 9. When we add this, oh, sorry, that's not, yeah, it is, okay, let's put it here, down here, so that you can always, you understand this figure here. So let's say 9 plus 0, this will be 9 plus 0. 9 plus 0 is 9. 9 plus 0 is 9. 1 plus 4. This is 9 plus 4. That 1 plus 4, that is 5. 7 plus 6 is 13. 13. And we take 1. 8 plus 6, that is 14. We carry 1. We go to, this is 9. All together, this is 9. 9 minus 9 plus 8. 9 plus 8, this is 17. We carry 1. This is 4 plus 1, this is 5, and plus 1 here. This is what we get. Hopefully you can see that our value, after getting all this, we are supposed to subtract again. We are supposed to subtract this figure from this total. And this will automatically, we are getting this, after getting this figure, we are subtracting, because this is x minus m. X minus m. So we are subtracting. After adding this, remove this. So we can see this, if you get your calculator so close to you, you are going to find out this one minus this. This will give us approximately to this figure. We're going to, if you get your calculator, press mine here, make it a little bit faster. To make it a bit faster. That will be 3 of 7. This will be 9. This is 7. 0. 6. 7. This is our answer. If you can calculate this, you can calculate this. Yes, that is it. With this, actually, this was 9. This was 9, not 0. Yes. Yeah, there we go. So that is our answer there. The expenditure on gross domestic product at a market price. That is it. So let's see our questions here. Because say define gross domestic product. Gross domestic product. This refers to the total market value. Total. This refers to total market value. Market value of goods. Actually, the goods must be final. Goods and services. Produced within the borders. Produced within the borders of the country. Of a country. Yes, you can see this. Okay, the method which has been used is definitely the expenditure approach, expenditure method. Because we've been talking about expenditure by households, expenditure by the government, expenditure. Therefore, this is expenditure method. What is the missing item? The missing item A, I think you can remember, this is reminder. Missing item A here is what they are talking about. That is final consumption by the government. Final consumption expenditure. Final consumption expenditure. By government. Okay. So we are asked to calculate GDP at market price in 2014. This is what they wanted. They wanted us to calculate GDP. Wanted us to calculate GDP, expenditure, total gross domestic expenditure at market price for 2024 for 2014. So they wanted us to calculate this, which already is done. They wanted us to calculate this, which we already seen. We said we add, for that regard, are supposed to add gross domestic expenditure, which is this one here, 38,677,19 plus export earnings, which is 186,640 minus import expenditure, which is 12,572. We got our answer at 379,706.7. This is what we got. We got this. We got this. We added this, and we subtracted this, and this is what we got. This is what they wanted. As there we go. So let's look at another question. Do not waste the time there. You can see that, isn't it? Let's look at the next question here. Question 2.3, that is about data response. Question about data response. Read the extract below and answer the questions that follow. South African economy grows by 3.3% in the second quarter of 2016. South Africa's GDP grew by 3.3% quarter on quarter in the second quarter of 2016. After contracting by 1.2 in the previous quarter, Statistics SA announced on Tuesday the year-on-year growth was 0.6%. That is according Mike DBA, who announced the growth stats on the behalf of statistician General Pali Lihora, see this name here, said for the first time in a longer while, there was a positive growth. It's talking about there was a positive growth rate in the three sectors. The primary sector showed growth of 8.8%. That's primary sector percent, while mining by 11.8%. Agriculture down by 0.8%. Secondary sector grew by 5.3%, with the manufacturing sector up to 8.15%. Construction by 0.1%, that's construction, and electricity by 1.8%. There are notable increase in petroleum and motor vehicle manufacturing division. The tertiary sector showed growth rate of 2%, with the finance up to 2.9%, transport up 2.9%, and trade up to 1.4%. The government up 1.2%, and personal services up to 0.8%. how do we deal with these questions of data? If you are to deal with the questions regarding data, it is very important for you to first read more than one time, at least a minimum of 3 times, so that you can put whatever is given in your head. You try to get it by your head so that you can interpret it and then come up with conclusive remarks or conclusive answers that are very important in my next part. Look at this question here. Define the phrase economic growth. Oh, they are taking us to the definition of economic growth. So economic growth refers to the quantitative increase in the volume of goods in the volume of goods and services. This means that goods and services have increased in number. There are so many other definitions which may be confusing kind of, but take this one very short and clear. In the volume of quantitative increase in the volume of goods and services in an economy. In an economy, yes. When the economy's goods and services increase, we say that is economic growth. I will not talk about economic growth development as of now because we think we shall find it sooner than later. So name the institution that is responsible for making announcements in economic growth. The institution that is responsible for making announcements on economic growth, the institution is known as Statistics South Africa. It's known as Statistics South Africa. Or some people cut it short and they call it Stats. Is A. But if you don't use this one, another one is the South African Reserve Bank. South African Reserve Bank. South African Reserve Bank. That is, you can as well put it in short form as South African Reserve Bank. We're getting too much for that. Another question which says, what main economic indicator is used to determine the state of South Africa? What economic indicator is used to determine the state of South African economy? The economic indicator that we do always use is the real gross domestic product. Real GDP, gross domestic product. How can the government speed up recovery? The government can speed up recovery by using its two important fiscal instruments. Which instruments are we talking about? One is by use of taxes, taxation, and two, by expenditure, government expenditure. by government expenditure. Government expenditure. We need to explain how does the government deal with taxation in order to speed up recovery of the economy, in order to push the economy to a positive way and increase. How can it do taxation? That is, we can do that by reducing taxes on consumer goods so that people can have enough income to purchase. Besides that, the government can reduce taxes on people's income so that they can have enough disposable income. And also, the government can reduce taxes on factors of production, on resources, so that the supplier can be able to produce as many goods and services. Remember, before the discovery, when the economy is in depression or a slump, there is low supply, there is low production, there is low consumption, there is low demand, income levels are down. And so that leads to a lot of shortages. It leads to what we call economic depression or a slump or a recession. So distinguish taxes on product and taxes on a product, taxes on a product and taxes on production. Okay, taxes on a product, taxes on a product. These are taxes on each unit of a product, on each product produced by a given industry. However, what you call taxes on production refers to taxes which is put taxes on production, taxes on production. The tax refers to taxes on the whole process of production, on the whole production process. This question is a second order question, and you recommend that wherever you are writing, giving answers to this, you are supposed to give examples, relevant examples. For example, taxes on a product may include, examples may include VAT, excise duty, excise duty, taxes on sale, etc. But when we talk about taxes on product, this is a tax on what we call, could be company tax. This could be company tax. You know what we call company tax, which is charged on every business, company tax. Or it could be what we call tax on employment, tax on employment. Okay, so you get answers, marks for each of every answer. Example, for examples, you get so that you maximize the 8 marks. So there is another question here. Give a brief discussion in tertiary sector as a component of the value added method of calculating GDP. In other words, you are supposed to explain what you know about the tertiary sector and how it contributes to growth and development of the economy. Let's use this page, which is question 2.5. The question is 2.5. and it's talking about tertiary sector. You are supposed to be elaborative on this concept of the tertiary sectors. Give a brief discussion of the tertiary sector as one of the components of the value added. You're supposed to explain the definition of tertiary sector, define tertiary sector. You understand this is also known as the service sector, isn't it? That's what we must know. And you must understand that it is a segment of an economy, and it includes a wide range, includes a wide range, of businesses. You can mention them, and these ones are very important in the growth and development of the country. And this could include teaching. You can talk about insurance. You can talk about banks, etc. Banks, schools, etc. They are very important in the growth of the economy in so many ways. So we have already said it is also the service sector. Service sector, also known as the service sector. And we have also said that they contribute with the tertiary sector. We are looking at the progress of the economy from secondary to tertiary, that is tertiary sector, and then the economy is more of the at a tertiary stage. The economy is growing according to those stages of growth and development. In the tertiary sector is more dominant. In the primary and secondary sector, we are looking at a great growth and development. Let's look at another question is about that could give you 40 marks actually. So let's look at question number 3, which talks about economic structure. So it likes us to 3.1.1. It is asking about N2 South Africa's 4 licensed mobile operators. And this one should not confuse you, because right now within your hand you have got a mobile phone, but it is operating with a mobile operator. For example, it can either be MTN, mobile telecommunication company. It could be Cell C. I don't know what you're using right now. Cell C. It could be Vodacom. You can mention others. See, you can give us any other, but we just needed of 2. Why is Eskom working on renewable programs that involve independent power? That involves independent power producers. Why is Eskom, a major leading electricity producing company, is working on renewable energy programs that involves independent power producers? Look at this. Of all the time, Eskom has been a dominant supplier of power, electricity in the Republic. You're saying that one may cause a lot of problem, because coal is non-renewable, and it is so much dependent on that. Remember, once it is used up, it cannot be replaced. That's why we are looking out for other alternatives. So therefore, our question answer is because coal is a non-renewable, meaning that the moment is used up, Once used up, cannot be replaced. Okay, there we go. Let's look at this extract so that we save time. Load shedding, a thing of the past, but energy infrastructure. Look at this heading. Look at this load shedding, a thing of the past, but energy infrastructure So we say Johannesburg, the trauma of load shedding is a thing of the past. ESCOM's group executive for generation, Michelle Coco, assured the parliament this week, but the risk will return by 2026. This was a warning, according to the source IOL, 16th October 2016. Sam Goodluck and Michelle Coco assured the parliament during that week that the risk will return by 2026 if the country doesn't make a decision now, that is was in, on whether or not to build a new nuclear power station. That is one, not but many stations. An updated integrated resource plan, IRP, has been promised before the end of the year. That was then in 2016. And Energy Minister Tina Joemat-Peterson, that was by then, said it was ready to be presented to the cabinet, but the meeting of the cabinet subcommittee scheduled for this week had been postponed. That was during this date. So name the nuclear power station in Africa that is owned by ESCOM. Wow. I think we know this. It is called, let's write it here. Let's write it here. Nuclear. Okay. Let's look at another question here. Give a reason why authorities use load shedding. Excuse me. Why do authorities use load shedding? Why do authorities use load shedding? Why was then? That is the reason is to save energy. Save energy. Not only that, but to protect the environment. To protect the environment and maybe to avoid the entire system from failing. I commend you to always give your answers in a point form. I've used this because of limited space. Always make sure that you go on when you are writing on your answer sheet, give your answers in a point form, like breaking out like this. Break out your points like this. Moreover, whenever you are asked, give or state, mention, you are supposed to give your answers in a point form like the one I've given, but not on all the answers on the same line. This will be not good. It's not, doesn't show good order when you are writing. Okay. What is meant by energy infrastructure? Energy infrastructure could refer to all supporting structures, the production process of energy, supporting structures, the supporting structures to the production process of energy. Name two advantages of the government in using low. Name any two advantages of government. Advantages for the government in using low-cost energy services. What could be? When government uses low-cost energy services, that will enable everyone to use energy and hence eradicating poverty. It should be eradicating what? Eradicating poverty. That will be hoping to eradicate what? Poverty. Low-cost energy services will ensure that we shall save the environment. The environment will be saved. We shall save the environment because we shall not be burning fuel, shall not be burning coal too much. That you can give other advantages, but on interest of time, let's continue to the next question here. Okay, we are looking at this table here. Let's look at this table. We have to read it. I mean, look at it properly so that you can interpret very well. Disable the statistics given here so that we respond to this data so well. So that we can respond to this data so well. Yes, we need to so that we respond to the questions. Okay, we are studying this table carefully. Observe this and see what is happening. Look at, we are given the three sectors in which we operate from the primary sector. You understand that it has this. And you see, if you add the two, they give us this for this 2013. When you add this, it gives us this. You add 0 to 8, you get this. When you add this, you get this. When you add this, you get this. Plus, you carry on the other one. Like that. This is what we have as tertiary sector. We have all this. Then, for this year, we have this. Then for 2016, secondary sector, we have this. It gives us this. When you add all this one, they give us this figure for that year, and for this year, and for this year will give us this figure again. If we add, we add them. Then that is for secondary. You can look at the value. For tertiary sector, look at this. Look at the wholesale. Look at the wholesale. Look at the transport, finance, community, and etc. And all these ones will give us this. Well, these ones for this will give us this. This is the tertiary sector for you. Z. And then that's how we can calculate the gross domestic product at a basic price by adding elements of primary sector, elements of the secondary sector, and then tertiary sector. Get this, add this, add this, add this, add this, so that we can get this value. You can see this. Okay, let's look at our questions. That is then plus taxes minus subsidies. If you wanted to convert it to the market price, okay, we add taxes and minus subsidies. Okay, let's look at these questions here. Which economic sector, question 3.1, which economic sector is the biggest contributor to GDP? Just read the figures. Just read these figures. Let's read these figures. Let me show you. If we compare, just look at the figures of the primary sector in all the years, how they contribute to GDP in all the years. And then you go to secondary sector. This one is 298,788, whereas this one is look at this. This one is one tertiary sector is 1,840,468. It is very big on every year. Every year it's contributing too much every year compared to this one. This one is in hundreds. This one is in millions. So you can see that the biggest contributor to GDP is tertiary sector. Tertiary sector. Yes. Prices are quoted at a constant price 2010. Prices are quoted at a constant price 2010. Why is this done? Because you can get the real figures of GDP. You get the real figures of GDP, which is free from, so that we get real GDP without inflation, Because we always said we take the values of constant prices because they're free from inflation, and therefore they give a true reflection of GDP without inflated prices. Name the department that manages agriculture, forests, forest and fishing in South Africa. That department is known as the Department of Agriculture. The Department of Agriculture. Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. Forestry and Fisheries. That is Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. And see this one. So what is the trend of economic growth? What is the trend of economic growth from 2013 to 2015? When you look at the trend, we just interpret the results here. The trend of economic growth in 2013. This was this is what the total GDP 2013. You can see that the figures the figures were here. In 2014, you can see what we got is here. What else can you see? Oh, let me close this. You can see this one comes here. From this, we have this. So you can look at this trend. There is just a trend. You can say there is an increase in GDP on a yearly basis. There is an increase in GDP. There was increase in GDP. Increase in GDP. In GDP every year. Or you can say on a yearly basis. Every year. Identify the sector that did not follow the same trend. Identify the sector that did not follow the same trend. Every sector died very well. So there was no sector that did not improve every year, and that is none. How does tertiary sector contribute GDP? How does tertiary sector contribute to GDP? You can look. So because of that question, I've been excused there. Want to look at the next question here, which says, how does tertiary sector contribute to the real GDP? We go back here, look at this. Tertiary sector contribute to GDP through wholesale and retail, catering, providing a lot of growth, a lot of money. You can look at these statistics. It can contribute to GDP through transport, storage, and communication. It contributes to GDP through finance, insurance, and real estate businesses. You can look at statistics and even say in 2013 it was this and this was here. So you can as well say, so it also contributes community, social, and personal services. You can look at what was provided and look at how much was provided in this year in 2013 and then 2014 and then finally 2015. Then general government services and the other services, we do like that. We explain how it has been contributing. Just read industry sector, how it does its aspects, and then we pass that question. Let's look at another question here. Discuss the South Africa's nuclear power infrastructure. Wow, so I must know. You must have read about the infrastructure, nuclear power infrastructure. So you say, for example, that you give statistics, yes, that nuclear energy policy, there is a nuclear energy policy. Let's look at this. Let me get this. Oh, look, I need to reset. Nuclear energy policy. Okay, question 3.5 says discuss South Africa's nuclear power infrastructure. Discuss South Africa's power infrastructure. Okay, you have to understand that currently South Africa's electricity is provided via Eskom at its power stations at Kobe nuclear power station just outside Cape Town. So besides that, you have to remember that a nuclear energy nuclear energy policy. Nuclear energy policy was enacted. Nuclear energy policy. Energy policy was enacted that aimed at increasing the role of nuclear energy, which aimed at increasing nuclear energy other than depending on coal, See, depending on coal. See, so this policy, it will help to reduce South Africa, reduce South Africa on relying on only relying on coal only. If it over rely on coal, then it's going to be a problem of failure to supply energy as needed countrywide. So you're going to find out that the long-term vision of nuclear energy policy, long-term vision of the vision is intended to make South Africa, to make SA, make South Africa become globally competitive, become globally competitive. Globally competitive on provision, on use of, on innovation, and innovation of technology and innovation of technology. Innovation and innovation of technology. That is innovation and innovation of technology. That's why there is encouragement of research. Programs have been put forward to make sure that there is more research is going to be carried out under this program. And we're going to see that state-owned nuclear energy corporation, nuclear energy corporation, nuclear energy corporation of South Africa, is aiming at promoting research, promotes research, make sure there is a lot of innovation and innovation. So what can talk about that aspect of and many more. So you can find a few things and then add on about nuclear energy. Say, let's look at question number 4. So they are talking about question 4.1. They are asking, give 2 examples of economic systems. The 2 examples of economic systems include centrally planned economy, centrally planned economic system, and two, it could be a free market economy, or it can be a mixed economy which combines both of them. 4.1.2, why 4.1.2 in South Africa says in South Africa, why is it that households are the ones who get paid for land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship when the government offers? What you have to understand that always households are the owners of factors of production, It is the households. So therefore, these firms and other businesses buy from factors of production to use them in producing goods and services. Look, we have another aspect here of the cartoon, which is provided. Study the cartoon below and answer the questions that follow. Let's look at the cartoon. The first question, identify the item that will earn interest in the cartoon. Interest is paid on what? Interest is paid on, okay, these are factors of production which are shown here. When you look at entrepreneurs, an entrepreneur receives profits. Labor receives wages and salaries. Land receives rent, and capital receives interest. What are we left with? Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. I think we have seen it all. Let's look at what is the question. The question, identify the item that receives interest, that is capital. Capital, which factor above willingness and ability to combine other factors of production in place. I think that is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneur. Yeah. Okay. I want to remind you once again the capital here. Capital machine was a tractor because the arrow indicates capital machine, which is a tractor that receives that. Okay. And they are asking, there's a question here. The farm worker in the cartoon above gets paid for every fortnight. Name the remuneration that he gets for driving the tractor. Name the remuneration that he gets for driving this farm worker. Remuneration, what he gets is called a wage. So we go to the next question, which says, using the cartoon below, typical example of a capital widening. Give a typical example of capital widening. What is capital widening, by the way? Capital widening occurs, this is when a country's capital, when capital increases, as well as there is increase in workforce. Okay. Data response. We're going to the next question. Study the diagram below. Study the cartoon. Below, answer the questions that follow. The questions that follow. Okay. Look at this cartoon here. There is a mixed economy. There is the state. Here is pointing here, you can see. There is people selling here. Wow, look at this. Let's look at these questions. After looking at the cartoon here, let's look at the cartoon. Let's look at questions as we observe the cartoon. Find the phrase economic system. Economic system is the way of answering the basic economic questions. That is ways of determining what to produce, what, how, and for whom. Produce goods and services. Produce goods and services. It talks about how resources are going to be allocated in an economy. How are resources going to be allocated in an economy? So identify the economic system in the cartoon. Economic system here is called a mixed economy. Mixed economy is the economic system. Define the economic system you have identified. This is an economic system with both government intervention. Okay, it has both characteristics of a central of, we can say, command the economy, and the market economy. It has two characteristics. That's why I say it is a mixed one. It has both central planned economy and the free market economy. Is the economic system in that 41? You said the one used in South Africa, of course. Yes. There's two disadvantages of economic system of that kind. Okay, you have to understand that when it is a free market economy, or it is a free market economy, you're going to find this lack of coordination. Lack of coordination. It's lack of coordination. There is a lot of red tape. There is a lot of red tape, and there is bureaucracy in a mixed economy. There is a lot of bureaucracy because the government has to endorse some aspects to take place. Bureaucracy. There's a lot of bureaucracy. And economic fluctuations. A lot of changes. Fluctuations, yes. Point is a free market economy. We have seen a lot of economic frustrations. There is economic significance of land. I want to remind you that land is a source of raw material, like minerals, source of raw materials, like minerals, e.g., minerals. Yes. We say such raw materials are exports for foreign currency. Agriculture is a source of food. And mining gives employment opportunities. There is a lot of advantages in land. Okay, let's look at another aspect. We mentioned some strategies the government can use to implement to address socio-economic inequalities. in social economic inequalities and alleviation of difficulties of economic marginalization. Remember, we said that marginalization is when section of the population has been sidelined or underlooked or unseen and considered, not considered as part, like in getting resources of the state, or is left out in development programs and not taking up in what we call commercial economy. So what strategies does the government as the government adopted to make sure that there is a eradication of economic inequality and alleviation of economic marginalization? First of all, there has been anti-poverty initiatives and programs such as a well-developed social grant system, social grant systems. These ones can help to alleviate economic marginalizations and better service delivery in the poor communities. Besides that, there is the integrated and sustainable rural development strategy. Integrated rural development strategy. Besides that, there is a establishment of SETAs, entrepreneurship grants, provision of entrepreneurship grants, and skills development visitors. Visitors. There are so many, but last we can talk about implementation of broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act and maybe BBEA. All these ones are intended to bring about quite the amount. There's so many others. I wanted us to rush so that we can look at section C, save time. And don't forget that section C is the essay, which is always a problem to some learners. Don't get confused. This essay is out of 40 marks. It has 2 marks for introduction. And the main part takes 26 marks. The 10 marks is for additional part, and then there's always a conclusion, which takes 2 marks to make a total of 40 marks. You can see this. So let's continue here briefly. Says discuss. Okay, at the core, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship encompasses all inputs needed to produce goods and services. All these factors of production mentioned here are the basis for the production of goods and services. So we are asked to discuss labor as a factor of production with special reference to its definition, characteristics, and economic significance plus remuneration. This is 26 marks. Wow, very easy. What are we going to do here? I am going to take you directly on how we can go about this question. Let's look at it. We are given parts. First of all, we are asked to elaborate on the concept of those factors of production, and specifically we are talking about. And let's look at the question. Question is question 5. Question 5 of section C. Section C. Don't forget to number the section and always start on new page. And the section wants us to elaborate on the concept on this factor of production, specifically land, and they have told us discuss labor as a factor with specific reference to definition. They want us to make definition, characteristics of that. And what else did they say? They said they talked about economic significance. Economic significance. And finally, they asked us to talk about remuneration of labor. Remuneration of labor. I'm going to explain this aspect of labor remuneration. That's payment. Payment, yeah. Let's talk about this define labor. Definition of labor. Okay, before you go any further, you have to make introduction, indicate it that this is what? Introduction. Your question, and then please try to underline so that we know use the best handwriting use. So then you explain, and then maybe you can say factors of production may include factors of production may include, or maybe you say may include, you give them as examples, which are very important in the production of goods and services, and without them is production. So then besides that, we need your emphasis. Your emphasis should go specifically on labor. Labor as a definition of labor as is the human effort. It's the human effort. Then we talk about human efforts, could be physical or mental. Required in the production of goods and services, or provided in production of goods and services. We stop. So then we can as well talk about what we call they talked about characteristics. Let's go to major key aspect here is the body now. In our body, we are going to look at characteristics of labor, which I believe you know so much. Characteristics of labor. You can say that labor is mobile. For example, say mobile, meaning that labor can move from one place to another of labor, mobility of labor, meaning that can be moved from one place to another. You can also as well talk about labor being not inseparable from its provider, labor not separable from its owner, like you can't separate labor from the owner. If you want the owner's labor, the owner must be available to provide labor. Labor cannot be stored, labor cannot be stored. You cannot store labor. And next to that, you can as well say that labor is not homogeneous. Labor is different. Not homogeneous, It's different. Homogeneous. Labor is different. Like labor differs from one person to another. Some people are more energetic, others are not. Some people are more skilled, others are not. More educated, and the more the skilled, the more the education. Therefore, they give different skills. Labor is very important in production. I've said it's remunerated. Remuneration is by wages and salaries. Wages and salaries. I'm trying to structure for you this, but just more understand that there's so many points as giving us characteristics. I just want to give you a draft of how to go about it, because they talked about remuneration as part of our body. Remuneration of labor. Just as from the characteristics, just give also this. Just say labor receives wages. Labor receives wages and salaries. The salaries. Just to mention it, but if you then let's talk about addition part of the question. Addition what part of the question? Another part of the question was, which remind you again, this one. What are the general functions of an entrepreneur? What are the general functions? It's the additional part here. General functions of an entrepreneur. Functions of an entrepreneur. Functions of an entrepreneur. Functions of an entrepreneur. We very much know what an entrepreneur is. This is a person who organizes the factors of production to make sure the production takes place. So basically, an entrepreneur identifies profitable investable opportunities, profitable business opportunities. That is good. This is entrepreneur opportunities. Besides this, you're going to find out you can decide the unit of production, deciding on the unit of production. Actually chooses what should be the size of the business unit. What is it? Should it be large or small, depending on which resources he has? He decides on the location, deciding on the location of the business, where to put the business. Okay? So it makes a lot of decision. It's, for example, identifying other factors of production needed. Other factors of production required in production process. of his business in production. This is the role of an entrepreneur. It is the entrepreneur that will decide the rewards decision or on payments. It does a lot of things. Yes, an entrepreneur makes recruitment plans. It does recruitment plans. Who to be invited into the business, who to be given a job. An entrepreneur takes risk. Takes a lot of risks by identifying what to do if the business is very risky. It is him. Okay, then from there you write a conclusion. And by giving a starting point, according to you, what do you think? That is very important. Labor, entrepreneurship should be part of what you are supposed to conclude with. Labor. You can discuss about labor in your conclusion, talk about labor, or you can talk about entrepreneurship in your conclusion. Maybe, for example, there are so many factors of production. Mention them, for example, land, labor, capital, and others, but the most important of them is entrepreneurship, as it does combine other factors of production to make sure that production takes place. Okay. That is it. Let's look at the last part of the question, which is question 6, which talks about. Let's look at question 6, which says, question 6 is here. Economic system is the way of answering the 3 basic economic systems of what, how, and for whom to produce. So we are saying, however, they are supposed to discuss a central planned economic system with reference to economic characteristics of a central planned economy, advantages of a central planned economy, and the disadvantages. That's the main part. And additional part says South Africa has unattained goals as a nation. Give a brief discussion on how it is a dual economy and corruption. How it is a dual economy. Why do we say it's a dual economy? And then corruption are contributing factors to the unattainment of goals, and corruption as an attainment of goals here. Let's see what we are talking about. We are talking about discuss a central planned economy. Let's go to our bracket here and see what to do. With question 6, says section, if you are going to opt for that, says section C, say question 6, and then say introduction to that question. What an cell should you introduce? Talk about a central planned economy. Say a central planned economy is an economic system whereby the 3 economic systems, the 3 economic questions, are answered by the government. Yes, sir. The government. Answered by the government.